papers in public economics and policy, which is very convenient following our esteemed Prime Minister, we can acronym it, and call it PIPE. PIPE is something that has institutionalized itself well before my time, and typically happens together with the Raja Chennaiya Memorial Lecture, which is a lecture instituted in memory of the founder lecture of this institute, and I would say the joy of Indian fiscal work. Not quite matched to date, I think, in terms of both the completeness of the work and its policy terminology. The idea behind PIPE is to get the few people who are on the face of it interested in something very boring. How the government gets its money and ways in which the government manages it and how it spends it together, because they find it interesting. This is actually partly our fault, because the study of public economics, people seem to have forgotten entirely, is the study of the state. And if Indians are interested in anything at all, they're interested in the state. But the way we teach public economics, it would be only a maniac who would choose public economics as a discipline over environmental economics or behavioral economics or conducting randomized trials or whatever. So I think this conference therefore is very important, particularly in India, where our teaching standards seem to have universally collapsed, not just in terms of content, but also in terms of how we teach and how we can actually inspire students to get interested in the stuff we do. But unfortunately or fortunately, the need for policy analysis remains. And the need for policy analysis needs to be backed by fundamental research on questions that are not driven, unlike NIPFP, by the need to address policy questions. We need to be interested sui generis in research questions. Otherwise, the consequence will be that, as I found in the FRB committee, people will come and say that your debt GDP ratio should be 60%. And ask why, and they're like, because it happened in 19 countries. Of course it is important in international research. It cannot be the case in a country of 1 million people, because we address the question of the state, that the research that we do is not both reflective of Indian conditions and produced in India, and engages with international research, either to reject it or to accept it. PIPE is very much focused on getting a cross-cutting range of researchers, senior and less senior, interested in diverse topics, to produce such research for its own sake, which is why this is entirely a supply-driven conference, in the sense that we ask you for papers and you present them in the old-fashioned way, which is very unusual for think tanks, because normally our research is demand-driven, and because otherwise the concept of research for its own sake, I think, has become an entirely foreign notion. I'm saying this in public to many of our statesmen and thought leaders. So I think PIPE is an excellent initiative for all these reasons. And NIPFP, for those of you who don't know, is an autonomous think tank of the Ministry of Finance, and that's a beautiful oxymoron. But it actually works, as long as I'm here and my colleagues are here. It is autonomous in the sense that it is not a university. Our intent is not, except to foster work like this, which universities are regrettably not doing. Our intent is not to do research for its own sake. Our intent is to do research to address policy questions. And the simple rule we have is we can criticize, but only when we have an alternative to offer. Whereas in a university, under no obligation to that. The critique cannot offer an alternative. So that is what we are, and over the years that has become a sort of informal understanding, and I think one of the reasons why that understanding is obtained is our ability to retain our independence from those who would rather not have it, of any party, political has been buttressed luckily by the fact that we are a federation, and therefore when there is a center there are states, and the center may not be mindful of NIPFP's independence, but certainly the states will be mindful of any nation being on part of the center and vice versa. So that is one thing that has helped us. The second thing that has helped us is our sort of semi-monopolistic place in the area of public finance, which I suspect paradoxically is again because there aren't simply enough people doing public economics and public finance or policy relevance. So in a sense, there's a TINA factor, and particularly in the current climate, I'm sure politicians understand the TINA factor. So I think we look forward to a harmonious relationship in that context. The third reason I think that an IPFP continues to retain its autonomy and independence is precisely conferences like these. Our ability to gather the research community and to continue to gather the research community of young scholars and make sure that we are able to interact with them, give them a platform to publish, and give them a forum on which to interact with other people, including in the Kerala Memorial Lecture to which you are invited, the policy makers, I think is an important role we play, and it sends a strong message outside the policy community also that this is an institution that is both unique and world-keeping. So you are all actually contributing to the effectiveness of this institution and the aims that inspire Dr. Nalaj Unnaiah, Dr. Priya Sir, and Dr. Imran Bhatti to, I don't know how you know his names, but these are all eminent economists of a time, all now go home with us. But that was really the inspiration, to make sure that, if you like, the inspiration came from the fact that we were a post-colonial country and we had to retain our independence, but now this has evolved and grown into an institution that does all the things that we do and is able to address this oxymoron, autonomous institute of the Ministry of Finance, credibly and effectively. Good, so I see that I'm also chairing the first session, but we will be beginning with an old friend and former colleague in this institute, Professor Arindam Dasgupta, who very wisely chose to flee Delhi for the sunnier climes of Goa many years ago, but he has come back now to speak on a paper which I'm slightly familiar with, because I was part of the same initiative, which is actually a pan-Asian paper looking at measuring tax administration, effectiveness and impact on tax revenue. And the second paper is by Dr. Sushma Mukti, which is on production efficiency and constraints on profit taxation. And it looks like some theory, which is the profit distribution, economic